I kid you not, romanticizing your life truly changed my life. And when you learn how to do it, it'll change your life. And when I tell you what number 5 is, it will truly change your perspective on how you see social media. Hello everybody and welcome to today's podcast where we are on episode 3, and today's episode is about romanticizing your life, the long-awaited episode, which probably should have been the first one in my opinion, but we are finally here. And if you don't know me, hello, my name is Brooke, also known as Honeybrook, and I am your host of the Behind HP podcast, where we talk about anything and everything here that could be hopefully interpreted as self-help or bettering yourself if you're on that kind of journey. And a little quick disclaimer, I am not qualified to be giving advice, so if you want to listen to me, that's great, but if I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, it's because I'm going off of things that I do and that I think might be useful to share. I don't know, this might help somebody. But anyways, let's get into today's video. But before we do that, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to all the homies who are listening on SoundCloud. Thank you guys so much for listening. And if you are seeing me right now and you are watching on YouTube, I also appreciate you guys, and I'm glad that you're here. So today I'm going to be obviously talking to you guys about romanticizing your life. And how I like to do things here is 5 easy steps on how to do that. Because a lot of people talk about like, oh, you should be doing this in your life, you should be doing that. But nobody ever talks about how or like the process of actually doing that, because I feel like the main big thing right now is romanticizing your life, and everybody's like, oh, it'll change your life, you should do it. And I didn't know what that was, and then I was like, I would see everybody post like really aesthetic pictures and stuff and living their best life on social media, and I was like, I want that to be me, because I love watching these types of videos, or like I love watching people's stories, but at the same time it made me feel really bad about myself, because I'm like, okay, why am I not living up to that? Why do my photos never look like that? Why do my trips never look like that? Like, what am I doing wrong? And I feel like when you realize, like, when you learn how to romanticize your life, it'll truly change your life. And then when we get to number 5, it'll truly change how you view social media. I also apologize in advance if this podcast episode is kind of all over the place, because I'm very passionate about this topic, and already off the bat my mind is running 1,000 miles a minute, so I'm just very excited to talk about this. And I feel like the first thing I should talk about before I lose my train of thought is our first step, and that is appreciating the simple things. Honestly, I've talked about this so many times already, because it's really just, it's the key to life besides love, right? Which I think that's going to be next week's episode. I'm kind of lost on the episode tracks right now, but it's going to be in here somewhere, right? But appreciating the simple things, because when you appreciate the simple things, you are able to look at the big picture of life and be like, wow, we actually do live on a floating rock, and we are all going to die eventually, and I should really appreciate just the day-to-day life and not be stressed out of what I'm going to even do tomorrow. Like, live in the moment, live today. And I feel like with romanticizing your life, it's all about, like, if you're not, like, I'm going to try and talk about this as, like, in your day-to-day life and not on social media, because I'm going to get to that. But for right now, in the beginning, I want to talk about how to actually achieve that if you're not trying to be a content creator or whatever. But I feel like the way to do that, and how I wanted to start this off with romanticizing your life, is appreciating the simple things. That is the simplest way I could put it, because that's what it is. Let me get more into that. You know, it's really unfortunate. This is just a me thing, and I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but when I get so passionate about something, I tend to lose my train of thought very quickly. So I just thought of a perfect example, and now it's gone. So please bear with me. I will be right back. And that is appreciating the little things. So I know we've talked about this already like a million times, but I truly believe in this, because when I think about romanticizing my life not in a social media context, I truly think about breaking down my day into appreciating the simple things, like living in the moment. And I feel like what I'm about to say is going to lead into the next point, which we're not going to get to yet, but living my life as a movie. What am I going to remember at the end of the day? what am I going to want to do again? What are some things that I absolutely love that I feel like just bring me a little bit of joy in a chaotic day, right? So whether that be getting up in the morning, making a cup of coffee, figuring out what kind of syrups or creamer I want to use that day, and then after going to the gym and then picking out a workout outfit, what are some things that like bring you a little bit joy, and that if you were to think about it right now, what would put a smile on your face, basically. Also, like making time for friends and family, and even if it's just like a quick lunch, if you text your friend that you haven't talked to in like months, or like maybe you talk, like you send reels back and forth on Instagram and that you're talking and you haven't really hung out for a really long time, even asking, like if your schedules don't line up, that's one thing, I totally get it. But even like, hey, do you want to go grab lunch? Do you want to go study at the library? Do you want to get coffee? Do you want to go on a walk? Seeing each other, even if it's just for an hour, honestly, that's better than nothing, and that's better than going months without hanging out, even if it's nothing too big. Like Tegan and I know this is completely different from like my main vlogs and stuff like that. Tegan is one of my best friends, and we started doing this thing. We haven't done it in a while, but regardless, we would get coffee in the morning, wake up kind of early, go on a walk, just spill tea, and live in the moment, basically. We wouldn't really be on our phones unless it was to take pictures or if like random stuff, whatever. But honestly, it just was so nice to like be in the moment, going on a walk, sipping our little coffee, going somewhere where we never really pay too close attention to, and you'd be surprised on how many new things that you see and that your eyes don't realize from being in a car. So it's just the little things like that, and I really hope that makes sense, and I really hope that resonates with somebody. But like, what I'm trying to say is something is better than nothing, and gratitude gets you so far, so much farther than you would think. I also want to add in here, because this just came to mind, keep a gratitude journal. I know I always preach about taking notes during this podcast of like the 5 easy things, just because like it keeps your mind active. If you're listening while driving or doing something else, I totally get it. These things are completely easy to remember and you don't need to take notes, but I always think like, I mean, I don't know where it comes from, but regardless, moving on to number 2, and that is making your life like a movie. And yes, I'm talking to the Delulu girls, which I'm also about to call myself out, because sometimes I don't tend to live in reality, and I think my delusions are a lot better than my actual situations right now. And sometimes it's better. Sometimes it's better to be in a fantasy than in a reality, and I feel like at the same time romanticizing my life kind of takes like my fantasy and makes it a reality, because I'm living like, I mean, let me just paint the picture, right? Let me use the same example from the Tegan example in the first point, where it's like, how many people actually get up early on a Saturday morning and just like live in the moment, right? We're always thinking about the next thing we want to do, and we never, it's like it, I mean, I know I struggle with this, where I never truly live in the moment. But it's like doing the little things like popping in your headphones when you're walking, appreciating solitude, going places by yourself, not having to rely on other people. You are the main character in your own movie. And I mean, if you do the little things in your life, like if you do the little things in your life that you're not afraid to do by yourself, like go to Target, go get coffee by yourself, go on a walk. I mean, obviously be aware of your surroundings, but music helps so much to make you feel like your life is a movie, right? And like I said, we're all the main characters in our own movies, and why not actually make that little delusion a reality? And that's kind of the whole other purpose of romanticizing your life, besides the whole appreciating the little things, because that's where it stems from again, or on social media, and then we'll get into that. Moving on to number 3, when I was writing this script, I put 2 for this point, and they kind of go hand in hand, but the first one is doing good in the world, and the second one is giving back to nature. And when I say nature, I just mean the world as a whole. I feel like one of the things about romanticizing your life is truly seeing the world as perfect in your eyes. I know that the world will never be perfect and that there will always be some kind of conflict, but in our day-to-day lives, we can try our best to, if it's just us, not involving any other people, we can try and make it perfect. And if that's picking up a piece of trash on the floor, picking up litter and throwing it away, or spending more time in nature, giving back to nature, whatever that may be in your eyes, I feel like that truly goes hand in hand with trying to romanticize your life in just the day-to-day life rather just on social media. And at the end of the day, nature has always been here for us, and we're the ones who have kind of destroyed it in a way. And I know I talked about this on the first episode of the podcast where I was like, change starts within you. That relates to it too. I mean, like, I'm gonna reference something that came to mind right now, but last year in Disneyland, the World of Color show, they had a whole, like, the whole message of it is it takes one, right? It takes one person to make something huge. And at the end of the day, that is so true, because you could be the light in the world, you could be the change, you could be the one person that cuts up a 6-pack of, like, the plastic for soda cans, right? You just that one action probably saves so many wildlives, right? I know that's crazy to think about or whatever, but it starts with one. It starts with you. You are the change in yourself, and that's another thing to where, like, if you want a better life, if you want a perfect life, air quotes around that if you're listening, it starts with you, and it starts with your attitude. And again, that goes back to the first point, and that's appreciating the simple things and making the best of your situations, even though we all have those times where it's like nothing good could ever come out of this. It's okay to have valid feelings, but at the same time, it's not okay to stay in that victim mindset. It's 2024. The change starts within us. We are romanticizing our life. We are on our bettering ourselves journey, and I think we should move on to number 4 because I think I'm rambling. Oh, I like this one. So number 4 is finding little things that remind you of big things. So the very first example that comes to mind is I live in a very small town, right? I mean, it's like a suburban area, but it's also like San Francisco is like an hour and a half from here. There's no big cities around here, and it's just a little small corn town, right? I always have loved the city aesthetic, and it's hard to find that around here. There's not many just little coffee shops, but the one thing besides our big modern library, the one thing that truly gives me big city vibes, like being the main character in a big city, is going to Panera, either putting in my headphones or going to lunch with the girls, right? Or doing homework there, even eating there. Literally, like, I don't know why. It just get like either. Sorry, I got choked up on Panera lore. Anyways, as something about either the atmosphere or the music, it reminds me so much of just being in like a little small cafe in the big city. And I truly, like, I feel like that kind of started the whole thing of trying to find little things that fulfill my desire for big things. Like, obviously, like, I work, I go to school full-time, I'm a full-time content creator, I'm a writer, I do so many things, and it's really hard to, like, travel and stuff, and I would give anything to, like, drop everything, go to a small country or something, be a solo traveler, and vlog my experience, and that be my career, right? That is the ultimate dream, but honestly, right now, it is not a reality, and I'm very happy with what I'm doing. I'm very happy with earning my stripes and working my way to the top, because, I mean, I would expect nothing less of myself, but I'm very happy with my life right now, and I feel like I haven't, like, truly felt that in a long time, to where I'm actually really fulfilled with what I'm doing, and I am very proud to say that too. I'm proud with my relationships with my family and my friends and all of that stuff. With that being said, I feel like sometimes I have to find small things to substitute the big things that I really want to do. And even if it's just walking down the street to my local coffee shop, grabbing a coffee, going to the farmer's market, buying overpriced granola, that reminds me of being in a big city. And honestly, there's nothing wrong with that. If it makes you happy and if it substitutes the feeling of something huge, that is just as valid as actually being able to do the huge thing. Because why, like, I'm getting closer to the whole, like, point number 5, and I feel like every time I try and hint at it, I have to stop myself, because I don't want to get in it too much, and I don't want to reveal it right away. but why sit in your room and watch other people do all these things that are like huge and that you would rather be doing, rather than like you actually having some control and being able to go find something that's similar to that but way smaller and gives you the same fulfillment. Alright, are we ready for number 5? So number 5 is a big one, and I feel like once I explain this, which disclaimer, again, it's probably going to be all over the place because I'm very passionate about it, but number 5 is being able to see that social media is all fake. Now, before I get into this, I want to also give another disclaimer because I say this in every single podcast episode, but I know it's easier said than done. You can listen to me talk about this all day long if you wanted to, but again, change comes from with you, and it took me a really long time to be able to actually change my mindset to not care about what other people think. I mean, even with this podcast, it was really hard for me to get out of my comfort zone and actually commit to filming this and actually posting it. And I mean, for my whole life, I've been moving in, well, not my whole life, but my like early teens to now, I've been moving in silence because just for various reasons, and I don't really like to tell people what I'm doing until it's actually done and complete. So I totally get if you're thinking that, like, literally, yeah, like, this is, like, helping or whatever, but it's not, like, I don't think I could do it. And it's all about mindset. I mean, it's gonna take some practice, and it's gonna take some things that you genuinely like find and come across that's exciting to you. If you're the same person as me, where you find like eating in a Panera or a small little cafe is the equivalent to eating in a small little cafe in a big city, right? It's all about mindset. It's all about how you look at the situation, and it's all about what you want to get out of it. And it's gonna take some practice, and I'm not saying that it won't happen right away, but if you're thinking that, okay, yeah, easier said than done, I totally get where you're coming from, and it took me a long time to get to this point. Okay, back to number 5. So I'm just going to explain my situation because I feel like that's the easiest thing to keep me from rambling and getting really passionate about this. So last year around this time, I was miserable. I'm just going to put it bluntly. I was miserable. I was trying to get out of my old job, and I was struggling to find a new job because I really wanted to do social media full time. And I'm like, I can't find anything that fulfills me like that. I can't find anything that feels like it gives me a purpose. And I went to job interviews, and I'm like watching the other people working, and I'm like, nobody looks happy here. I really liked my old job, but at the same time I outgrew it, and it was very difficult. And at this time I was also like, I created like my new TikTok that was like strictly for like romanticizing my life and stuff like that. And I actually took pride in like, if I was like on a trip or something and I would post something to my Instagram story, I would take pride in making sure that looked like it came out of a magazine, because that's what I love to see. And I feel like romanticizing your life on social media has come down to a science. Like, we have girl math, but now we have girl science, and that is what you post on social media. And when you figure out how to do that, honestly, that's the moment you realize that everything on social media is fake. Because once you know how to achieve those videos where everything looks air quotes perfect, you're like, okay, I mean, it's not perfect because I know how difficult that is. Like, I know how many cuts and like like how many times they have to position the camera and the right lighting. Like, you understand how much work it is, and all of a sudden those videos, they don't seem so perfect anymore. You kind of begin to respect the practice and the work that people put into these videos, and it becomes no longer like, oh, they're an influencer, their life is so easy, like they get everything handed to them. Like, no. And I hate to sound like Michaela, the beauty guru, but really, you will never understand like how much work goes into like a TikTok or like being on the internet or whatever until you try it and actually like try and do what these really talented people are doing, because like the art of editing is crazy, and I'm nowhere near that. So so I truly respect these people, but now with figuring out how they do it and how much work goes into these videos, it makes it more of like, okay, I can do that if I really wanted to, but I'm happy with what I'm doing. And now I can see that social media is fake, and especially if you know people and they're posting like these really like aesthetic pictures and stuff like that, it's like, okay, I know you're not really like that, and I know people who know me personally, I know they say that about me, and I'm like, I don't care. I literally don't care because it makes me happy. And that's another mindset thing that comes with time, where it's like, if it makes you happy, you're gonna start to not care. And it's like, I'm doing this podcast right now because I want to. So far, episode 3, it makes me happy. I like talking about this, and I feel like I can't talk about this anywhere else because I'm afraid of getting judged, in a sense, because it's not really me, but at the same time, it is me internally. And so now I'm sharing it with you guys, and I'm having so much fun with it, and I just wanted to add this in really quick. I didn't tell anybody that I was doing this, and with the first episode, when people started watching it, it was like a genuine reaction, I felt like, with people who knew me personally, because like they didn't know I was doing it, so it was like genuine feedback, right? But anyways, back to my situation that I was referencing. If you scroll down to like my first like 10 videos on TikTok from last year, they look so good, right? It looks like I'm having the time of my life. It looks like my life is a movie. But deep down in my personal life, I was miserable. I was not having a good time. But I scroll back and look at those videos, and I'm like, wow, I missed that time. But then I'm reminded, like, okay, personally, I don't miss that time. Like, I'm very happy. I'm very, like, happy where I am right now. I feel like I've grown so much eternally. I've healed, all that jazz, right? And, like, I found a job that I really love with the fire department, and now I'm actually able to pursue my passion, but also have an income coming in that I actually like going to work. So it really balances out, and I feel like romanticizing my life and truly sitting down, looking at my situation, and it's like, okay, I want to achieve this. I want to be a full-time content creator. I want to do all these things. I want to build a platform. How do I do it? I can't do it sitting on my butt all day. Yes, of course, I have the passion, I have the heart for it, I have everything to show for it in that aspect, but unfortunately, if I have nothing to show for it money-wise, it's not going to work. And especially if you're just starting out, I've learned that is the very hard truth, and you have to have some kind of day job and do that on the side. But in my everyday life, I feel like I have grown and healed so much because I'm able to romanticize my life. And I feel like doing all these things that I saw when watching like the videos on like YouTube or like vloggers on YouTube, the aesthetic clean girl videos on TikTok and Instagram, that I wanted to be and achieve so bad. And when I figured out how to incorporate that into my life, I think that just completely changed the game. And I also just think as a society, that's kind of the modern day term we came up with, romanticizing your life, on how to achieve internal happiness. Because in reality, it literally just is appreciating the simple things, doing things that make you happy, getting out in the world, and just realizing that the world of social media is completely fake, and you can't believe anything you see. Because I promise you, those people who are creating those videos where their houses are spotless, what is hiding on the other side of the camera? And ever since I found that out, it's completely changed the game for me. So in conclusion, I really hope that these 5 steps helped you. I really hope it made sense. And then again, I'm doing this podcast to better my public speaking, and I'm trying to get better at explaining things and explaining what's in my head, and trying to get better at teaching too. So I really hope this helped somebody. If you have any questions, please comment down below, because I will be so happy to answer it. Or if you want advice on something, I'll try my best. But yeah, that's all I really have today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you're watching on YouTube, please go over to SoundCloud. It'll be in the description, and check it out there. Leave a like, leave a comment, follow if you want to. And yeah, that's all I really have to say for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching again. Make sure you check out all the links in the description. Go show my main channel some love. Subscribe to this channel, my behind the scenes channel. And I will see you guys next week for episode 4 of the Behind HP podcast. Bye, everybody.